Hello everybody, Mr. Pilgrim here, coming at you with a brand new Platinum Trophy guide. Now this is going to be for the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Now note this is also going to be effective for the Binding of Isaac Rebirth. However, there are certain changes that you'll want to take note of, as there are differences and things that are added onto Rebirth that you now have to do to get the Platinum. And there's stuff that makes it a little bit harder and more time consuming, but also makes certain things a little bit easier because of new items added in. Now, before we start as well, this Platinum Trophy will take you a lot of time, anywhere from at least 40 to over at least 200 hours, maybe depending on runs, and just RNG and luck like that. As you could have really good runs for all of the characters, be able to do stuff really easily, you know, or you'll be, like me and just be unlucky. So the first thing that we're going to do is start up a brand new save. As you'll see, I only have one character unlocked. You will be unlocking all of them, so don't worry about that. You'll just want to start a normal run, just to do it as best as we can. Now, before you start, first thing that you would like to do is just familiarize yourself with the game. Learning how to play, learning items, learning secrets, stuff like that. You know, basically just getting as much information as you possibly can. Now I am going to be skipping from bits and pieces as well while just doing gameplay. So your first few runs should be pretty normal, as most of the things will be straightforward. I will mention some things early on and just cut around. So as you'll see right here, right below me, is called a marked rock. They're blue or they're tinted rocks. They'll have the little X and they'll be a different color. They're very easy to spot on the first two floors. On the other floors, not so much, as they get harder and harder to find. There are certain items that you can get that will reveal them to you, but for the most part, what you also would like to do is blow these up, as they will give you certain achievements and stuff. As you can see, they drop a blue soul heart. So I'm going to wait to come back and pick that up for a very specific reason. But as you're playing through the game, you also want to be trying to unlock characters as well as doing other things. Now you also want to destroy poops because they can give you money and stuff like that. Now note, just like most games that are roguelikes, there are secret rooms and other things like that that you can find by using bombs to blow them up. And sometimes these rooms will have items for you to find, or just give you other stuff. Let's see if I'm lucky. And we are not. Sometimes there's specific patterns and things you can use to find where secret rooms are. There are also super secret rooms. Once again, there are items to help you find those. There are also going to be mini bosses like this one right here that I'm fighting. They're pretty simple. Now, a few trophies that you'll want to take note of is specifically related to unlocking characters. As you see, I found a secret room. Sadly, it was not great secret room until it, became good. Now, certain things have certain interactions with how you play the game. Like the item I got is penetrative tears. This will give me more, this will allow my tears to pass through enemies, damaging more things. Now, also at the same time, what you want to do, if you're not trying to save up for anything, or you've already unlocked a specific character, then you can easily just hold on to your money, or you can spend it or donate it. Now, you will have to reach 999 coins donated to the donation machine. It is a little pricey, but it's something you'll have to do over the course of the game, so it's not a necessity to have to do it. So as of now, I'm going to be cutting and maybe trying to specifically do certain things. I will say, just try and unlock as many things as you can per run if you're really trying to. Or if not, just play the game here and now and unlock stuff, and then dedicate certain amounts of time to grinding for very specific things. So the first thing I'd like to say is just try and unlock the characters. Just try and play the game. And so your first run, you're going to be hoping to do a couple of things. Got Larry Jr., which is a boss that has multiple hitboxes, which makes our item really helpful, as we can damage him multiple times. Very nice. Easy. Like I said, when you're playing through the game at first, you're just wanting to learn items, learn what they do, how they interact with things, how they combine with other things. Now, when you make it to every even floor, you have a chance to get a devil deal. Or, if you don't take a devil deal item, you have a chance to get an angel room. Angel rooms are a little bit more annoying to try and get to spawn, just because the game just really doesn't like giving you angel rooms, at least from my experience. But also, every floor after the first floor, your item rooms will require 1 key. A little bit annoying. And there are going to be times where you do not have keys for anything. As well as, if you can, on your first 2 floors, or whatever 2 floors you want to do, simply don't pick up any hearts and also don't take any damage. Those are 2 required things to unlock Samson and Eve. Basically, you can't even pick up the blue hearts or black hearts if you find any for 2 floors. You also can't take damage at all for 2 floors. Even if self-inflicted, I think. A little bit annoying, but it does happen. As you'll see, sometimes the game will give you keys for things. This is actually a pretty good item for us to get because of how much money we have. As money equals power, every amount of money that you have per 1 single coin will give you more items, or more damage, sorry. So that is also a good thing. Now, as most runs are always going to be different from another, or somewhat similar in other ways. There are certain ways that you can break the game, and then there are certain ways that you can just make the game easier on yourself. They're not always going to be the case, of course, but there are times where it is possible. So, another character you can try and work on is called Pain. It requires you to have 55 coins. Now, we're already at 27 out of 55, which is really good. And our second boss is Monstro. When you fight Monstro, you will then get another achievement. You're also going to be trying to do as many of those achievements, which are different from trophies. They have their own separate tab of things to remember. But upon doing so, we will also unlock Samson for not taking damage for 2 floors. But, okay, so how devil deals work is on a floor that you have a chance to get a devil deal. If you lose any red HP by any means, from enemies and stuff like that, you will reduce the chance of getting a devil deal. Now, as you'll see, devil deals cost HP. Now, another character you'll be trying to get is called Azazel. Azazel requires you to take 3 devil deals in the same run. Another character is to get at least more than 6 red HP. And then another one is to have at least 4 soul hearts or black hearts at the same time.
Bombs are key.
Now note, there are also items that you can pick up that you can use R1 to use, like pills, cards, and trinkets. There are also active items which are used by L2 that are up in the top left that require rooms to be used, or you need to clear rooms to recharge them. And there are also batteries which will recharge them for free. Now note, as you're doing this, you also want to try and get as many of the actual items in the game as you can, because you will have to pick all of them up at least once. By that I mean, if they're a spacebar item, you will need to pick them up. If they're a passive item, you also will need to pick those up. So on and so on. As you'll see, though, we'll easily be going through this floor, not taking any damage, hopefully as well not picking up any hearts. Here we have a different form of chest called a red chest, which will give us pills, which can be good or bad.
Speed
Speed down is
down.
Now, in certain cases, you can use bombs to create paths over gaps. Now, they have to specifically be in a spot that will directly connect with an area that you were going to. Here we have a specific trap room that require you to solve them. They're pretty easy to do. I will take this soul heart just because right now we're pretty low.
The High Priestess.
And we got more HP. But like you said, it's going to be pretty simple to go through and do stuff. For the most part, anyways. I do think that on your first actual run, you can't unlock certain characters. I don't know why. But you're supposed to, I think you're supposed to be able to. I could be wrong. We'll see if I'm able to get 55 coins and it still doesn't give me cane. Then it'll be a clear sign. But this is also more or less just to help give you guys information. Now, if you have an item that requires more than one charge to fill it, if you use if you clear a big room, it'll actually give you 2 charges, which is pretty cool. Save you time. Now, do note that there are champion enemies, which are tougher versions of regular enemies, and they'll be bigger, have colors that have different effects, so on and so on. Now note that there are also curse rooms, which is this room right here. It requires you to spend HP to go into it and exit it. Now if you have a character that has flight, it doesn't cost anything to go into it, but it still costs half a heart to leave. A little bit annoying, yes, but it's okay. As there's some characters and items that make it to where they do no damage to you, as you'll just get the HP back. Pretty cool.
Health down.
Do note that, as you just saw, there are some pills that will have negative effects on your gameplay, which does suck, but oh well. Can't win them all. But yeah, so first run is just beating the run, as the run doesn't go very far compared to later runs. We are also going to be trying to make sure that we get our item room. This here looks like it's a secret room just because of how it's connected. And we were right. Now in some secret rooms you will have these keepers, which will have a chance when blown up to give you money. Sometimes they won't. They also sometimes give you a specific item, but very rare. But yeah, so after we do this first run, I'll then probably cut instead. Now do note though that once you actually use a specific pill, you will then know that pill for the rest of the run. So more pills that you use and consume might be the better. Also, you'll want to note that every even floor, if you have more than 5 coins, an arcade will appear. You will need to actually interact with these. At least enter one 5 times. This will work out, I think. Give us some more money to use. We'll take our head back. And then we can blow up the vending machine. Or, yeah. That'll also be another thing, is you'll want to blow up these slot machines right here on the left. Destroying 30 of those will unlock you a specific item, which will be helpful. You'll also want to play this character called the 3-Skull Monty at least 100 times, as he'll give you another trinket item, which goes down in the bottom left. Those also have different effects than passive items and other items that you can pick up. So just be aware of that as you play through the game. Let's see what our item room is. The Book of Invincibility. This is an item that gives you temporary invincibility. Now, if you combine that with another item, which we have right here, we can then do this. But for some reason, they have patched the game to where you can't abuse that glitch anymore, apparently. I just now found out, and I'm about to die. So we'll probably take Book of Invincibility. That was quite concerning. I think I should be okay with the boss. If not, oh well. You can't always win them all. Make a path to get this chest, maybe get some HP. Now, for the first so many floors, you will only be taking a half a heart of damage, and then once you get to the later floors, it'll be a solid heart of damage. Now, this is looking like a super secret room, which it is. Could be good. This is a unique vending machine, sorry, that will give you soul hearts and other trinkets as well. We're more or less just trying to go for money right now since we're so close. Here we got Mama Gertie. If you stay on either the side or the bottom, she will eventually fire at you, but you can then just rotate around. She will also sometimes spawn enemies that you will have to deal with that can shoot other projectiles at you. It's a bit of a pain, but it's not too terrible of a boss fight. But for the sake of things, I'm probably not going to be getting repentance at all. As you'll see here, she's just respawned. And that is simply just because it actually makes the game a little bit more complicated and a little bit harder than normal to complete. And as you can see, we also got another devil deal. Depending on devil deals, we might be able to walk away with more HP than we leave, or come out even. So in this case, we'll come out even. As you can see, we unlocked Azazel for taking our 3 devil deals, which is really good. So that means that we still can unlock characters, which is awesome. Now, your first run should just be 6 floors. You don't have to play it as unsafe as I do. That's just how I like to play the game, as since my game knowledge makes it a little bit easier for me to remember how to do things. Getting another soul heart is really good for us. I know once you fight certain mini bosses, they will unlock other items too. Now there are also some secret little achievements you will have to do. If you get an item later on and then this sun card, it'll basically allow you to get free mapping, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so yeah, just basically your first run should just be learning the game. You don't have to play this like I'm playing it. Like I said, this is more or less just from experience, as it makes it easier to know. As you can see on the map in the top right, the little question mark is what let me get the secret room, as it showed me where it was, and we did unlock Kane, which is 55 coins, which is now 1 less character we have to worry about unlocking, which is really good. Being able to do that in your first couple of runs is also really good, because Kane is a pretty good character to get. Getting another secret rock is also good. As you'll see, there's certain characters that, or enemies that behave certain ways, which is always really good. There are some characters that when they hit you will actually cause you to lose money, so be careful of that. We will check out our shop. There's not really anything worth getting here, so what we're actually going to do is donate to the shop. Doing this so many times will also unlock items and give you benefits. We're just going to give it all of our money, 60 coins, which puts us back down to 5.1 damage, which isn't too bad, but, you know, it wasn't what it was before. It means we will be struggling to destroy. Now, also, destroying so many of the marked rocks will actually unlock other items for you to pick up. One of them is a really good item to have. We will keep the rest of the money that we get, though, and then we'll go into our boss. Monstro 2.0 is a bit more annoying than the original Monstro, simply because of the fact that he is more annoying with his laser beam of sorts. We can try and abuse our followers and helpers to make it easier on us. You can also use bombs to damage bosses if you really want to, you know. If not, you don't have to. You can save your resources for the next floor, as our first run is almost done. Ta-da! Now, if you're wondering how I have the stuff on the sides of my screen, if you're on Afterbirth Plus, which does require you to pay money for, if you go to your options, head down, you can do extra HUD, found HUD, charge bars, and stuff like that. That'll give you the stat screens on your left and right to show your passives and your stat upgrades and effectiveness. Now, we're here on the final floor for the first run, as your first run is always going to end exactly the same when you do it. Sadly, of course. This is a room we don't have to care about. We might hold on and wait to use our bombs or key pill, as what this does is this more or less just swaps our bombs and our keys. So if we have more keys than bombs, then we'll now have more bombs than keys. Vice versa, you know. Say you're getting a lot of chests, but you don't get any keys at all, well, you can use this to get more keys. So on and so on. Also note is with these blue flames right here, if you actually blow them up, they have a chance to give you blue hearts, which is pretty cool. It's not always a guarantee, but if you have spare bombs, you can try it, maybe get lucky. As you can see here, some of these rooms can get a little congested and full of enemies, which charge you a lot, and it can be a little overwhelming. You just gotta take it slow, deal with one enemy at a time. Always be kind of a little bit maneuvery or moving all the time, and you'll be okay. Getting more money is always good for us. Yeah, sure, I'll take 99 bombs. Now, in some rooms, they'll have this little reroll machine up here. If you bomb it, it'll activate and reroll any passive or pedestal items in the room. You can also deposit money, and so much money will make it reroll, same to a bomb. Using a bomb means that it'll probably more or less likely blow up, and you'll get less uses out of it. Can suck, but oh well. Now, since we're on the last floor and we know we're on the last floor, what we're going to be trying to do is find our shop. Maybe get one last item in, maybe a donation or two. Now, in these spawn rooms, there'll be that little thing right there that you can blow up for more pills. They're not always going to spawn, but they have a chance to. So just be aware of that. Now, as you'll see as well, most runs are normally going to be longer than 15 minutes on a good run. Now, when you're playing a normal, they shouldn't take anywhere longer than 30 minutes, depending on what you're doing, of course. Waiting on enemies to spawn is always so much fun. Huzzah. There are also challenge rooms that you can do, which will give you other items. Here we got a soul heart, or a eternal heart, which is white. You'll see it at the top left as the furthermost blue. Now, in these challenge rooms, you can actually get items. Now, depending on the challenge room, you might have to face a couple of bosses, which can kind of suck. But since we have 99 bombs, it's not so bad. As you can see here, easily just using our bombs to our advantage. Now you will have to fight at least 2 or 3 rounds, give or take, on most of these. This will also help you dealing with some of the boss-related trophies. As you'll see here, you will eventually have to fight all of these bosses. You will also have to beat certain floors so many times. As you can see, we're now done, and we can now move on. Now, how Eternal Hearts work is at the end of every floor, when you go into the next floor, if you have one still, it'll then be converted into a brand new heart. Which is kind of cool. Here we have the Greed mini-boss. He is one of those bosses that will cause you to lose money if you were hit. Be careful of that. He does have a chance to drop a Steam sale, which gives you 50% off all items in shops, which is really cool, but the downside is you now lose a shop for it because it takes a shop for him to spawn in. They can sometimes spawn in specific secret rooms. Not always the case, but can happen. Sometimes you might get lucky. Of course. Oh well. I guess we can now come in here and use all of our remaining resources to see if we get anything cool. The Fool, not so much. Oh well. So now we can finally finish our first run. Now, this boss will always be the same for every run, no matter what. So, no matter what you might do, you will always have the mom fight as your 6th boss. Now, there are various versions that are different, of course, but they're all more or less the same as there's a foot and things getting spawned on the side. You can use bombs or certain things to help yourself out. It's not always going to work, but, you know, you can try. There's nothing ever stopped me from trying anything in Isaac. Trying to guess where certain things might spawn is always good. So, there are times where it'll only be a stomping version of the boss fight. So it'll only just stomp at you, and then you'll just have to shoot the foot. And then there are other times where it'll be like how it is right now for me. Now, sadly, as you heard, I got a devil deal and other stuff, but since it's always your first run that it does this, you unlock the first ending, which will then expand the game, adding a new floor afterwards. So now you will get 2 more floors, and so on and so on. So from here, as you see, you'll unlock the room, and you'll unlock a bunch of challenges if you're on the DLC version of the game, and a bunch of stuff. So I'm actually going to go to my main profile to show you more or less, but basically, if you look in the top left, right next to the characters, you'll see a post-it note with a mark of everything that your character has done. As you'll see, you'll want to try and have that fully completed for almost every single character. There's one I haven't done. This also requires you to at least beat the game and do certain things. As you can see, some characters it will tell you how to do it, some it won't. As you can see, we unlocked both Samson and Eve for not taking any hearts and not taking any damage for 2 floors. Now note, there are certain levels that require you to actually not take damage on them, and that'll also unlock you trophies. The only floor that it does not count for that is the Cathedral and Shoal. Those are 2 later levels that you will unlock. So from here, what you're simply trying to do is beat the next boss in the womb 11 times. And once you do that, you will then unlock more stuff to do. Basically, you will then have either 2 options, either go up or go down, which will then give you 2 more bosses. Ugh. I don't know why I'm getting so winded from talking so much. Also unlocked Lazarus for at least getting 4 soul hearts. Now, if you unlock Azazel, basically he will be your bread and butter. I recommend using him for the remainder of your mom fights, and then unlocking stuff. Now, I'm going to show you why. I will cut the clip here, though, just for the sake of recording. Alright, but the reason why Azazel is so good is because he starts off with Flight. He can get red health, but he starts off with 3 black hearts. How black hearts work is that anytime you lose a black heart, it does a massive amount of damage to every single enemy in the room. he also starts off with the full card. The full card will bring you back to the starting room on any floor that you start in, which is really good. And also the biggest factor is he starts off with 5 damage, as well as having a brimstone laser. It's not the full edition of the brimstone laser, but it is still really good. You can get range ups to make it longer, so it's not a terrible item to have. As you can see here, it's so easy fighting these enemies. And just like that, we're already pretty much almost through with the first floor. Like, look how easy we defeat this boss. Like, so easy. Now, no, you don't have to do this, but you can. You know, basically, like I said, you'll simply just be trying to go through and beat Mom's Heart 11 times, which I'll probably end up skipping to once, once. From here, I will skip to doing that, or showing you what the boss looks like. That way you kind of get an idea of how to fight it. Like I said, once you're after the Mom's Foot, you will also be unlocking Boss Rush. So in order to unlock Boss Rush, if you beat Mom's Foot within 20 minutes, so getting through all 6 floors and stuff like that in 20 minutes, you will then be able to access Boss Rush. Boss Rush can have either 2 or 4 items that you can randomly choose from. You can only take one though. There's sometimes where you can maybe manipulate the game or cheese it to where you can get all of the items, but that's based on what your run is looking like. But for the most part, doing Boss Rush will get you another trophy. You will eventually have to do it with every single character anyways, so it's inevitable that you'll do it. Whenever you beat Boss Rush, though, you will also be rewarded another item. It's a random item, so it could be good or bad, and the risk is up to you to do. So we'll now skip to the Mom's Heart boss fight, just so you'll see what it looks like. Hopefully I'll have a good run. Alright, so we have finally made it to Mom's Heart, and as you can see, we have a ridiculously broken build, and that went pretty well. So once you do that exactly 11 times, you will then be able to go up or down, like I'm about to do, which will be through the Devil Door. On random occasions, you will get this, but once you do this 11 times, it will all be guaranteed for you to either go up or down after you beat Mom's Heart. But the first time you do that, you will unlock Eden. That'll be another trophy, and since we were able to come down here to Shoal, we'll now be able to earn another trophy for unlocking Judas. Now the reason why we have such a broken build is because we are guppies, which we've got 3 guppy items. Now when you first start the game, there's only going to be a couple of them to get, but they should be more than enough, and upon doing so and becoming guppy, you will then unlock another guppy item. But basically what it is every time you hit a tier or a part of your brimstone laser, you spawn a fly. Flies will then home in on enemies and deal exactly 1.5 times your actual damage, which is pretty good. As you see here, most bosses will melt. Here we have Satan's first form. And then the second phase is more or less just a stomping, which is pretty easy to deal with. But once you do that, you will then unlock another trophy for unlocking Judas. And you'll also be one partial step closer to another path, more or less. But once you've done Mom's Fight 11 times, you will then want to either go up or down and fight those bosses 5 times each. So this will require at least 21 runs overall. Like I said, most runs on normal are roughly going to be less than 30 minutes, so that's still a decent time chunk that you'll have to invest in order to get through the first initial phases of doing the Binding of Isaac. Now, once you unlock Judas, if you have the DLC and have Greed mode unlocked, I definitely recommend playing as him. Now, I'll just explain why right now. So, how greed mode works is you have a starting room which you can access for free, which will give you an item. Cat of Nine Tails is really good for Judas as it's more damage. The downside to Judas is that he only has one single HP. So he can roughly take 2 hits. However, he is really strong. Now, the reason why is because of his starting item, the Book of Belial. When you use the Book of Belial, it gives you a damage increase. So that, on top of how greed mode works, is it's round based. You'll hit the button and it'll start spawning enemies each round, and then it'll also spawn money. You know, so on and so on. And since you have so much raw damage right now, it's so good. The downside is you can't just reuse the book once you get another charge. It's just a one-time use. Oh well. As you can see, even though I'm only 2 hits away from death, nothing can survive long enough because I have 10 damage. So I'm not worried. I still have to play carefully, of course, but still, I'm not scared. Now, doing this, eventually you'll get to the end of the boss, and that'll allow you to donate whatever remaining money to the donation machine for greed mode. This will also unlock additional items and other things that characters can spawn with. Once you've defeated so many waves, you'll then reach the boss waves. It's pretty simple. As you can see here. Judas is a pretty broken character. Now do note, the more times that you do this and donate money with a character in greed mode, the percentage of the machine jamming when you donate money will increase. So you will have to do this multiple times. Then at the end you have the Devil Deal round, which will always guarantee a Devil Deal or Angel Deal depending on if you take any items. With Judas you should be able to easily go all the way through regardless of what your starting item was. As you can see, most of the time you're not going to get anything good. Hopefully my dog wasn't too loud.
Justice.
Maybe you'll get lucky like me and get a Justice card, which will actually save you money, as in greed mode you'll need to buy keys to open your second door. Sad bombs isn't so bad. Basically, the bomb will explode and send out tears in omnidirections that mimic your tears. Blow up these keepers, maybe get some extra money or something. But you can reroll and see if you get any good items. So on and so on. We'll take damage just because it's always nice. Note that there is a harder version of greed mode called greedier mode, but you don't have to worry about that just yet unless you're really concerned about it. You will need 5 keys, 1 for each door for each floor, but then you can finally move on. But basically, just doing this is basically just helping yourself out. I'm going to finish this run, of course, and then we'll see. I'll see you back at the main menu to go over some optional things that you could do. Excuse me. Instead of just doing your standard basic runs. So yeah, I'll see you when this is all set done. Alright, so now that we're back at the main menu, the next thing I'd like to discuss is challenges. Challenges offer a very specific, unique way of playing the game, and give a bit of a challenge, as the name suggests. Now, if you're trying to do this on Rebirth, you will have to do all 20 challenges if you're just doing this on the base game. I recommend doing that, and then if you want to get the DLC and then do everything else, then it'll work. Because for some reason when they added the DLC, they didn't update the trophies to make it to where you only had to still do the first 20 challenges. Instead, if you have all of the DLC, it won't give you the trophy until you do all 40 or all 35 challenges, which is really annoying because especially one of the first few that are still locked right now is really ridiculous because it's hard. It is really hard. But for the most part, what you would want to do for now is simply do highbrow and then do anything other than like You could maybe do slow roll, computer savvy, waka waka, the host. Any of those are fine, but basically, I'll explain why I want you to do number two. As when you beat number two, it'll unlock you a specific rune called Yera. It is an item that you can use using R1, and what it does is it doubles everything on the floor. So ground or batteries, hearts, money, keys, bombs. It'll double all of those. So instead of having 2 keys and like a bomb on the floor, you'll then get 4 keys, 2 bombs, so on and so on. If you combine that in tandem with doing like greed mode or anything else, you'll have much easier runs. You'll be able to get more stuff done. Now, if you only unlock that rune, because there are other runes you can unlock, but if you only unlock that one for now, the rest of your game will be really easy. It won't be hard for the most part, because having Yera itself is really good. Because in greed mode, there will be times where you'll get your devil deal and you will get crap. But if you have Yera rune unlocked, you can then save all the money on the ground, get the Yera from the devil deal, Yera all the money on the ground, so on and so on. Makes it easier to unlock certain things. But it is a pretty easy and straightforward run, really. Most challenges, you don't have item rooms, which kind of sucks. This one is very interesting as it allows you to basically give yourself money, give yourself other items, because what you can do is you can then use your items to make your game easier. So what number two is basically if enemies touch you, they get turned into poop. You can use your spacebar item or your active item up top to turn all enemies who are easily able to be turned into piles of poop into poop. So on and so on. You kind of understand what I'm going for, right? Gonna keep bombing this till we get something good. I note that certain things that are done in the challenges don't actually go out to the main game. Also, trying to use seeded runs will not work when doing this. Like for base game, I mean, not challenges. There are certain challenges that will specifically get their own whole video to go over. But yeah. So basically, this will probably be how I end off this first episode, is just basically going back over everything that you'd want to do in your first couple of playthroughs. And then I will pick up once I have reached that point myself. That way it will still be following along, but you just won't see all of the runs, more or less. So all you want to do is beat the game, unlock characters, and then once you beat the first game, you'll then want to beat the next main boss so many times until you unlock 2 alternate paths. And then from there, you want to beat both of those alternate paths 5 times, which then will mean you can go even further down those paths. It sounds a little confusing, and it is at first, but basically what it means is that and when you go down, there'll be another floor after that you can go down further. So on and so on, vice versa, yada yada yada. This is a really good room to use your active ability on, as it's a lot of enemies, and you can get a lot of stuff. Another challenge you might want to try, I'm not going to recommend it just yet until you're really familiar with how Isaac items work, is Waka Waka. It's number 17. Basically, your tiers will stay in place like Pac-Man, and enemies will be drawn into your tiers. It'll be the same boss that you're going to for this challenge, the Mom's Foot. But the difference is the fact that enemies can now be sucked into you and actually hit you.
Justice.
It's a little scary, but, there's a lot of characters and NPCs in Isaac. But yeah, so basically just try and play the game, have fun, enjoy it, learn it. Don't stress out too much about the Platinum Trophy for now. As like I said, it's a lot to do. There's a lot of things you gotta do with every single character. It gets a lot. And and then, like I said, just trying to unlock characters as well. And then if you want to do the 2 challenges I said, you can, 2 and 17. Doing other challenges might risk you unlocking other ruins, which will then clog up your possible items that you get in your actual runs. So if you want to take that risk, you can do it. I'm just trying to help you really get the best out of your buck. Now, the item below me is actually an also good item to get sometimes, called Chaos. What it'll do is it jumbles all of the pools together. So what that means is that if an item can be gotten in the shop, you can now get it as an actual item from an item room. Devil Deal items and other things like that also apply. So you can get almost anything now from anywhere. It is very risky at times, but it can pay off. It can pay off. So it's a very risk-reward kind of item to go for. But you still can get devil deals on your challenges and other stuff like that. So shop items are still a go. Just no item rooms for the most part, except for certain challenges. They will have item rooms. Just because they're much harder than normal. As you can see here, our devil deal is now absolutely bleh just because of chaos. But that's okay. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to take for some of my runs. And maybe you should too sometimes. But this has been Mr. Pilgrim with the start of our Binding of Isaac video. If you'd like me to continue this, I'm trying to figure out if this is something people would want on my channel more, or other videos, or other guides for other games right now. This is something I could always come back to. But I will see you all in the next one.